The Titanic: Triumph and Tragedy. The unsinkable ship of dreams, the Titanic, marked a multifaceted technological advancement of the early 20th century, yet resulted in one of the most detrimental losses in world history. The Titanic was funded and produced by the White Star Line. This Olympic-class ocean liner began construction on March 31st, 1909. It was built at the Harland and Wolff Shipyard in Belfast, which is located in the United Kingdom. Titanic shipbuilder and casualty Thomas Andrews descends from Northern Ireland. He left school at 16 to become an apprentice for his uncle. Andrews made it a common practice to accompany all of his ships on their voyages. The Titanic's blueprint was very complex. Such a large and powerful ship demanded intense planning and designing. The Titanic weighed 46,328 tons. It was 8,882 feet long, while 175 feet tall. It had 24 double-ended boilers, 5 single-ended boilers, 2 three-blade wing propellers, and 1 four-blade center propeller. It was capable of going 28 miles per hour. It had 9 decks and cost $1.5 million to produce. The 2019 equivalents, $144.5 million. The Titanic featured 10 floors, 8 of which were for passenger use. The higher class you were, the higher floor you were sat on. The third class floors were at the bottom of the ship and were far less luxurious than the first. Although the Titanic was referred to as unsinkable, no one knew the dangers that awaited her. The first class accommodation was designed to be the pinnacle of comfort and luxury, with an onboard gymnasium, swimming pool, libraries, high-class restaurants, and high-end cabins. The Titanic was supposed to follow a path from Southampton to New York City. This path spans 3,425 miles. Her journey was supposed to take 5 days, but ended after 4. The captain of the Titanic was Edward Smith. Captain Smith had previously piloted many great voyages and was renowned for being a famous sailor. His first officer was Scottish sailor William McMaster Murcock, known for his hardened personality. Eyewitnesses claim that Murcock committed suicide shortly before the Titanic went under. However, this has never been confirmed. Captain Edward Smith went down with ship, as most honorable captains do. The Titanic crew consisted of the captain, several officers, and several deckhands who accompanied the ship on its fateful voyage. In all, the Titanic crew comprised some 885 people. Deck crew, masters-at-arms, storemasters, engineers, boilermen, firemen, electricians, stewards, galley staff, radio technicians, and restaurant staff. Monthly wages ranged from £2 to £105. On April 14th, 4 days into the crossing, the Titanic hit an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The collision caused the whole plates to collapse inwards along her starboard side and opened 5 of her 16 watertight compartments to the sea. Meanwhile, passengers and some crew members were evacuated into lifeboats. A large number of men were left aboard because of a women and children first protocol for loading the lifeboats. At 2:20 a.m., she broke apart and sank, with over 1,000 people still aboard, forcing hundreds into the freezing 28-degree Fahrenheit water. Just under 2 hours after the Titanic sank, the RMS Carpathia arrived and brought aboard an estimated 710 survivors. The disaster was met with worldwide shock and outrage at the huge loss of life and the regulatory and operational failures that led to it. Afterwards, there were major improvements in maritime safety. One of their most important legacies was the establishment in 1914 of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, which still governs maritime safety today. Of the 2,224 passengers and crew aboard the Titanic, only 32% survived the disaster. 1,514 people were lost at sea, and only 710 members were saved by the RMS Carpathia. The Titanic held only 20 lifeboats, which was approximately enough for only about half the passengers. She was originally equipped with many more, but designers feared this made the decks appear too cluttered. When the ship began to sink, passengers raced to the lifeboats. Nearly all lifeboats were short of max capacity, some not even reaching half full. John Jacob Astor IV was a wealthy German American who made his fortune through real estate. He was the wealthiest passenger on board the Titanic. His wife made it to the lifeboat and survived, but unfortunately, he did not have the same luck and drowned that night. Benjamin Guggenheim was the second wealthiest passenger aboard. He made his money through his family's coal business. After Guggenheim heard the news of the ship's likelihood to sink, he changed into his best clothes to face death. Originally, Guggenheim planned to travel aboard the Lusitania, but it needed to make repairs. This is the same ship that was sunk by the Germans prior to World War I. The Titanic legacy would live on, especially after the discovery of its wreckage in 1985. It would later appear in literature, pop culture, and Hollywood entertainment. The famous ship is being remade, named the Titanic II. It is set to sail in 2022 from Dubai. This model will cost $500 million to produce, and they don't plan to crash this one into an iceberg. Perhaps the most important lesson to learn from the sinking of the Titanic is that Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt Bukater are completely fictitious Hollywood characters. Or are they?